What if I told you that most of your results, your money, your progress, your growth, are coming from a tiny slice of what you do, and the rest is just noise? That idea has a name, the Pareto Principle, better known as the 80-20 rule. And the reason it keeps showing up across business, habits, and daily routines is because it gives you a ruthless superpower: focus. Today, we're looking at famous people who use 80-20 thinking in real life, up to current times. Not as a motivational quote, but as an operating system. And the goal of this video isn't to copy their lifestyle, it's to copy the method. First, a quick reality check. The 80-20 rule isn't saying it's always exactly 80 and 20, it's a pattern. Outcomes are often wildly unbalanced. A minority of inputs creates the majority of outputs. So the game becomes simple. Find your high-leverage 20% and stop worshiping busy work. Let's start with a modern name that made 80-20 mainstream in productivity culture: Tim Ferriss. Ferriss popularized a style of thinking that basically says, stop trying to be efficient at everything. Instead, identify what's working, double down on it, and delete the rest. Ferriss's version of 80-20 is almost like a weekly audit of your life. He wants you to ask questions like, which 20% of clients create 80% of my revenue? Which 20% of tasks create 80% of my progress? Which 20% of distractions create 80% of my stress? And then he goes where most people refuse to go: cutting. Not reorganizing, not color-coding, not optimizing. Cutting. Because the real power of 80-20 isn't discovering your 20%. It's having the courage to drop the 80% that looks productive but doesn't actually move the needle. Now, if Ferriss is the popularizer, there's a man who turned 80-20 into a full-life philosophy: Richard Koch. Koch wrote one of the most influential books on the topic, the 80-20 Principle, and he pushed the idea beyond business into personal life, happiness, and success. Koch's big contribution is this: 80-20 isn't just a productivity trick. It's a lens you can apply to everything. Because in real life, a few relationships often give you most of your joy. A few skills often give you most of your income. A few habits often create most of your health or most of your problems. A few decisions often create most of your regret or most of your freedom. Koch's question is brutal and clarifying. What is the smallest set of actions that makes everything else easier? If you can answer that honestly, your life gets simpler fast. But there's a trap here, and this is where James Clear comes in. James Clear is known for habits and systems, and he references 80-20 thinking. But he adds a warning most people skip. Clear's idea is simple. 80-20 helps you decide what matters. But being productive isn't the goal. The goal is being productive on the right things, because you can 80-20 your schedule, become extremely efficient, and still be heading in the wrong direction. You can maximize output in a game that doesn't matter. So, Clear style 80-20 is: choose the right game first, then use 80-20 to win it faster. That's why some people look busy for years and don't move. They're applying effort intelligently to the wrong mission. Now let's move to a different arena: marketing and attention. Seth Godin has repeatedly pointed out a reality that brands, creators, and businesses learn the hard way. Reality isn't evenly distributed. A small percentage of customers often produces most of the profit. A small percentage of products often creates most of the sales. A small percentage of marketing channels often drives most of the growth. And a small percentage of messages creates most of the impact. Godin's angle is powerful if you're building a YouTube channel or any business. Stop spreading yourself evenly across everything, because the world doesn't reward balanced effort. It rewards precision. So if you're a creator, Seth Godin style 80-20 looks like: which 20% of videos generate 80% of the views? Which 20% of topics bring 80% of subscribers? Which 20% of hooks keep retention high? Then you don't experiment forever. You commit to what's already proven. Now let's talk about a version of 80-20 that's extremely practical for daily life. Kevin O'Leary, yes, the Shark Tank guy, talks about something he calls signal versus noise. The idea is that most people live in noise, endless messages, distractions, meetings, and low-value tasks. But high performers protect signal, the small number of actions that actually matter. O'Leary describes an approach where you keep life at roughly 80% signal and 20% noise, meaning the majority of your day is dominated by your core priorities, and everything else is limited. Forget the exact numbers. The value is the concept. Protect the vital few. If you want to apply this immediately, here's a simple rule. Every day, pick 3 outcomes that truly move your life forward. Everything else is allowed only if it doesn't sabotage the 3. Now, 80-20 isn't just a business and productivity thing. It's also popular in personal performance coaching. Tony Robbins teaches the 80-20 rule as a focus principle. A small portion of inputs tends to generate most outcomes, so you win by obsessing over the few actions that matter. Tracy teaches the same core idea for time and life management. A minority of activities drive the majority of results. Whether you like these coaches or not, the useful part is consistent. Stop treating all tasks as equal. They're not. And your calendar proves it. So now let's make this personal. Here's how you apply 80-20 today in a way that actually changes something. Pick one outcome, just one. Money, fitness, learning, family, your YouTube channel. Choose one target. Now list everything you do for that target. Write fast, don't judge. Then ask one question. If I could only do 2 of these, which 2 would still produce most of the results? Circle those. That's your 20%. Now comes the part that makes 80-20 real. Cut, cap, or delete the rest. Not manage, not optimize. Cap, delete, reduce. Finally, protect your 20% with a rule. A rule is better than motivation because motivation is emotional. Rules are structural. Examples. The first 60 minutes of work is my 20% task. No meetings before noon. 3 signal tasks before any scrolling. 1 hour of deep work before checking messages. That's it. 80-20 isn't motivation. It's design. So here's the question I want to end with. What's the 20% in your life that would create 80% of your results? If you actually protected it? If you want, comment, my 20% is. And I'll turn the best answers into future 80-20 episodes. This is the 80-20 channel. We don't do more. We do what matters.